welcome to episode 145 of the arieknits podcast. My name is Ariel, and this is a video podcast where I talk about all the things that I've been knitting and spinning on for the past week. Today it is Saturday, February 7th, and I have some fun things to share with you all. I have a couple of finished objects, I have a new cast on, and I also made a lot of progress on my projects, and so let's get right into it. You may notice I am wearing one of my finished objects this week. It is the Yonagi by Hiromi Otsuru, and the yarn I use for this is Knit Picks High Desert Sport Weight yarn in the colorway Mustang Heather for the main brown color here, and then for the sleeve cuffs here I have two other contrast colors, and it is Alder and Bear for these. And I knit size 1, and I use US 5 needles, 3.75 millimeter needles to knit this. And final measurements, I have 39 inches in circumference, so that gives me about 9 inches of positive ease. And let me stand up and show you how this looks on me. I did make one slight modification to this, and it was actually kind of unintended, but it came out really great. It is washed and blocked. Can you believe it? I actually washed and blocked this before talking about it on a podcast. I mean, I usually, if I'm wearing it in a podcast, it is most likely washed and blocked, but sometimes it just takes me a little bit from when I finish it, the week I finish it, until it actually, does that. But I finished knitting it this week. I woven in the ends, and I washed and blocked it, and so I feel like I did pretty good. Well, I did wash and block it last night, and so it is actually still a little bit damp, kind of like right here actually, but it's fine. It's looking fine, and it is mostly dry. And okay, I don't, where do I start first? Okay, the modification I made for this was that and all I had left to do on this, because both sleeves were done last week when we talked about it, and so all I had to do was go back to the body and finish that. When I put my stitches back on the needles, I was like, and then let me just measure the body and see how much more I need to do. And I was already 1 inch longer in the pattern before it says to start ribbing. And the ribbing is actually pretty long. I'll stand up and show that with you. So here's the ribbing. And here's where the underarm is. And so it's actually, this is a cropped cardigan. But I was here when I picked it back up. I measured, and I was 1 inch longer than it said to start the ribbing. And I was like, oh, well, it's fine, because I was thinking about making this a little bit longer anyway. And so it was at a perfect place for me to I had to do just like one more wrong side row, like a purl row. And then I just started the ribbing. And then I did that, and I bound off, and it's great. And so, yeah, here it is. It is on the more cropped side, but it actually does hit below my belly button, and I feel like that's a very comfortable length for me. And I will say, so this yarn did kind of open up. It did get a little bit bigger after washing and blocking, and so the sleeves are a little bit longer than I think I would prefer, which is it's different for me to say that, because I generally like longer sleeves. But so I'm putting them down on the side, and I'm just going to lift it up so you can see where my fingers are. So it just about almost covers my thumb here. And I think for me, I actually like this length. This length is fine for me. However, because the sleeve cuff, it's very wide, like it's not a tight one, it does just, this length plus the really wide sleeve kind of just makes it feel extra big. I think that I would have preferred just a slightly tighter fitting sleeve, and I definitely could have done that if I did a bit more decreases, but I just decided to follow the pattern, and so it is fine. It just, if I were to make this again, I would probably make the cuffs, I would decrease a little bit more before doing the cuffs, and then the rest of it can just be pretty easily modified for like the new stitch count. So yeah, and then as far as like how the yarn feels, because this was my first time knitting with the Knit Picks High Desert Sport Weight yarn, it seriously feels really nice and soft. And yeah, if anything, it just grew a bit after washing and blocking. But the stitches, I think, look really nice. Let me hold up real close, I guess, to the camera now So you could maybe see at least like the color work gingham on the sleeve cuff that I absolutely love. It is the main reason why I wanted to make this pattern, was because of the gingham cuff. And it was all done with like slipping stitches. And so you only ever are working with one color at a time, which is fantastic. And then the picot edge, which I love because I do love a little kind of like wavy kind of edge. And so that was really fun. And thankfully with blocking, for me with the picot edge, because the way that you make it is you do like a knit two together, yarn over all the way around, and then you keep knitting, and then you fold it over, and that's what creates that wavy edge. Whenever I fold it over and, you sew it down, I always do it, I think, one row off of where it should be, so that it always, mine was kind of like flipping out a little bit. And so the nice thing about the blocking is that it made it nice and flat, and so I don't have to worry about that at all, which is great. And so, blocking does fix things. And yeah, so that was great. And I like I don't know if you can tell, but the ribbing on the body is a 2x2 rib, but on the front band, kind of like this, the front part of the band that goes all the way around the neck. I guess it's kind of like the neck band. There's no buttons on this. It is this kind of like, cartridge rib. I think that's what it's called. All the way down, and it goes all the way down here. So you're still doing this cartridge rib and then switching to the 2x2 rib around the body. But I do like this, and I like the texture of this too, and so it's really nice. Because this has a lot of positive ease and it is like a cropped open cardigan, I actually do think I'm going to wear this quite a lot if I want something really easy to put over, because again, lots of positive ease, so I can wear even kind of a bulkier long sleeve shirt or something, or like a sweatshirt. Maybe not like not like a hoodie, but like, if I was wearing a little bit bulkier of a clothes, but I still wanted to put this over something, it would work, and it would be, I can put something cute over whatever I'm wearing and still be nice and warm. And I do think this by itself is pretty warm. It is a sport weight, and it's knit at a pretty, not like a super dense texture, but it's definitely not like an open kind of gauge. And so it does already still feel quite warm, but it's like warm and loose, and it feels kind of like blankety in a sense. I think because of the amount of positive ease and the really big sleeves, it just feels nice and drapey. And so, there's a lot of positive ease in the sleeve, and I think that there's just some situations where that would be super nice to have. And I feel like whenever I talk about sleeves, I always talk about, how does it hold up if you ever need to do something and you have to like, pull up your sleeves and do something to have your arm kind of like not touching anything, like if you're washing your hands or something. And because it's so big, I think that, it'll probably fall down, but honestly, it's actually holding up pretty nicely up here. So you can easily wash your hands and not worry about, the sleeve kind of getting all wet or something like that. And so that's actually pretty nice. We'll see how this wears. I literally just put this on for the podcast because it was drying, still is kind of drying, but this coming week I'll try to wear it a bit more and see how it does, and just kind of overall kind of, a normal day, how does it wear and feel. But it's feeling really cozy right now, actually, and yeah. I will be honest, like I said before, I picked this pattern to make, and I really want to make this pattern mostly because of the gingham sleeve. Obviously, you could put this pattern in like wherever you want on a knitwear, but I just think the overall look was really cute, and I've never made a pattern by this designer before and all of that, and so I'm very happy that I have it. But I did have a concern over the look and feel of the sleeves and stuff. Like, is it something I'm gonna pick to wear very often? And because there's some other kind of like fun sleeve situation knits that I have that I think are cute and they're very pretty, and I'm happy I made them, but I don't wear them as often. I think because they don't feel as like a nice, like easy everyday kind of wear. But I really do think this one, for some reason, will get more wear than I am maybe, or what I maybe thought would happen. And it's kind of weird for me to say that, even though, or at this moment in time, because this is literally the first time I am wearing it. But I think I'm actually surprised at how comfortable and easy it feels to wear. And I don't know how to describe what easy to wear feels like, but maybe you guys can describe to me what that feels like, or how to describe that feeling. But that is the feeling I'm getting from this, and that makes me really happy. So yeah, overall, it was a new designer to me, new yarn to me, and I'm really pleased with the results. The yarn's not itchy at all. Oh, I wanted to mention one more time that this yarn, specifically the Knit Picks High Desert yarn, I think they also have, this is the sport weight, but I think they have other weights of yarn too, is a Shaniko yarn. And so it is that like sheep, they're the Shaniko Wool Company, and I believe that the sheep is a breed that is a mix of Rambouillet and Merino. And so the yarn is very nice and soft, and I wanted to try a more budget-friendly Shaniko yarn. And so yeah, I would recommend this yarn if you're looking into trying a Shaniko yarn, and I like it. I think I would knit with it again. I don't think it's something I would buy anytime super soon because I have so much other yarn that I want to knit with, but it is something that I would consider for a future knit if there's a pattern that I feel like would match with it. So yeah. Okay, I know that was a bit of a long review for what I am wearing, but it is also a newly finished object, and so I did feel like I wanted to give it a lot of attention in today's video. But let's move on to my second finished object of the week, because it is the one I was like, I better get it done this week. And I will also put it on for you, at least while I'm talking about it. It is the Barley Beanie by Veera Valimaki, and the yarn I use for this is Harrisville Designs Daylights in the colorway Bloodshot. I know, a very weird name, but love the color. It is the same yarn I used for my Ozetta Seaway pullover last year. I had a skein extra, and so this is my February single skein project of the year. My second project of the year out of 12. I knit size 1, and I use US 4 needles, 3.5mm needles to knit this, and it is done. It is wash and block, and I wore this out today. This was my hat for the day. I got to test run it, and it was great. I will hold this up closer now to the camera. It is all over cables, the same cable pattern. There is kind of like a decrease that happens right at the top. Let me try and focus on my camera here. And so it does kind of do this like circular kind of like cinch in after it decreases all the way down to a certain number of stitches, and you just like, loop your end through the stitches and close it up. But here it is. And then this is a very tall folded brim. I'm going to unfold it just a bit so you can see. I'm basically folding it all the way up till where the ribbing starts or ends, pretty much. You can kind of see the fold line here. And so it is covering up a whole bunch of the cables here, but that's just, that's just how it is. And so there's that. I'm going to put it on. And yeah, here it is. It's a very cozy hat. And okay, after washing and blocking, this hat, the yarn just really bloomed. It kind of filled in some of those, not holes, but in between the stitches, it kind of just filled it all in. It was really nice, and it kind of poofed up, kind of relaxed a little bit at the same time too, so it wasn't as tight on my head as it was before blocking. And here it is. I don't know how to, I'll look down so I'm not trying to look at the camera and show you the hat at the same time, but here it is. I'm trying to show it from all the sides. I really like when my hat covers my ears. I think, is that most people? I like when my hats cover my ears because my ears is what gets cold the quickest. I know when it is cold outside if my ears start to hurt. And that's usually what starts to hurt and get cold the fastest. And so that is my main reason for wearing hats, for wearing beanies when it's cold, but also because they're cute and I can make them now. And so yeah, I think this is really cute. I'm really happy with this because I think I mentioned this last week, but there aren't that many knit hat beanie patterns that I feel like I really, really love. I mean, my still number one is the Manhattan hat by Tori. But as far as other ones with other designs, because the Manhattan hat is just a 1x1 rib. It does have a very interesting kind of decrease situation at the top, but it is mostly 1x1 rib. And so for things that have more designs, there just aren't that many where I feel like, oh, I really want that, or I think it's really cute. They're just like always like, it's okay. But this one, I like it a lot. And so I would consider making another one. Wearing this out today was fantastic. It kept my head warm. And the one thing I was a little nervous about making this is specifically the yarn I chose for this, because it is a woolen spun yarn, I believe. And it is a Cormo yarn, and it is non-superwash. And so it is just a bit of a less soft. It is soft and squishy in a nice woolly kind of way, but it's not in the same kind of softness or smoothness as like a merino, or even like I think I do have a hat that has a little bit of cashmere in it, and one of those like 10% cashmere merinos. And my forehead always gets so itchy when I wear hats. And some of my other hats, my superwash merino hats, are fine. They don't itch as much as some other hats I have, but they still kind of itch. And so I think it's just a thing that will always happen, maybe because my skin is dry. But okay, so that's just background for me being slightly nervous about using a yarn that is a bit more on the rough side. And really, honestly, this yarn is not rough, but it is just rougher than like a superwash merino or a superfine merino or something like that. So I was nervous, but it actually is not too bad. I would make another hat in this yarn base, which makes me really happy, because now I feel like I can expand my range in the type of yarn I use for my hats. But yeah, and so it was great. Yes, I did get a little itchy sometimes. I have to kind of like go in and kind of just like, do a little bit of that and kind of put it back on my head, but nothing more than usual. And so I'm really happy. I'm really pleased with that. I think this hat, I also don't think I look great in all types of hats or beanies, but I think this one matches me. I think I like the look. There is a bit of a poof at the top too. Like, it's not just stuck on my head, but it's not like the ones that kind of like stick out and look kind of weird on the top. And so I think it's the perfect blend of those two kind of situations with a hat, and I'm really happy with it. I don't think that it is a hat pattern I need to make another one of right away, but I would happily make this hat pattern again, and like in a different yarn or the same yarn. Well, not the same color maybe, but it's cute. It's really cute. Here, I will hold it up one more time just so you can, let me describe the yarn too. It is like a cream, kind of grayish colored base, but with red pink flecks in it. There we go. And so it's really subtle, but I think, yeah, I really like the look of it. In the pattern pictures, the yarn was kind of like this colorful tweed all throughout, and I felt like this gave a very similar vibe because of the little specks of the pink and red. And yeah, I'm very happy with this. I'm very pleased with the pattern choice and the yarn combination and just how it came out. And yeah, I'm happy to add another hat that I really love to my wardrobe. And so that is, again, the Barley Beanie by Veera Valimaki. And I'm happy. I'm really happy. So yeah, so that was my second finished object of the week. Actually, that was the one that I finished first, and then I finished this cardigan. But yeah, so number one, the hat, and then number two, the cardigan. But yeah, so I had two finished objects this week. Let's move on to my whips, though. So really quickly, let's talk about my mitered corner blanket. Oh my gosh, it's been so long since I feel like I've had a streak of talking about my mitered corner blanket and getting progress on it. So I'm very, very pleased about that. This is the mitered corner blanket pattern by Purl Soho. I am using leftover fingering weight yarn held double for each of the squares. And I'm following the instructions for size small. I'm using US 6 needles, 4.0 millimeter needles to knit this. I will hold up what I have. The way that I am tracking to remember which squares I made for the week is that I just knit and I don't weave in the ends, so that all of the squares that don't have ends woven in are the ones I made for the week, and then the next week I will weave them in and then start the next week's squares. So I did this entire top row, and that is 7 squares. And so now it's a 7 by 7 square, I believe. Is it? Yes, 7x7 square, so I'm back at a square. And yeah, this week I had to kind of get myself, I did the first two very like nicely, easily at the beginning of the week. Then it took me a little bit I think it was just yesterday actually that I did the rest. I was like, just do it. And I was like, no, I want to work on my other projects. I'm like, you gotta do it. Just do it. So I finished the row and I'm happy I did it. I do think it's kind of funny because every time I've kind of picked this up, I always think to myself like, oh, I should just do like a row or do a column. But obviously if I keep doing that, eventually there's going to be a lot more squares in each row and column. And so that'll be kind of crazy. But I think I'm at a manageable number right now. I guess next is going to be 8, but we'll see how much I can keep up with that. If I just knit on this during the week, I can do so many squares, but you know, it is not a main priority project for me. But yeah, I think I ended up doing a lot more kind of like light pastel colors this week. Maybe that's just how I was feeling, but I still like the randomness of kind of the colors. Still trying to make sure I don't, you know, I want it to look, I don't want to wait a long time until I add like a purple, right? Or like I want to mix light and darks. So, but I think it's looking pretty good so far. And yeah, I don't want to talk too long about it because I'll be talking about this one many times before I finish it. But it's actually looking on the larger side now. I kind of have to make sure I hold it back and hold it up. So that is fun and exciting that this thing is growing. But yeah, so that is just a quick update on my mitered corner blankets. Okay, next up is this one's so good. My Checkerplate sweater by Lily Kate. Lily Kate France on Ravelry. Lily Kate Makes on Instagram. The yarn I'm using for this is Woolberry, Berry Shaniko DK in the colorway Pasture. And I'm knitting size 1. I'm using US 7 needles, 4.5mm needles to knit this. And I'm trying to I know. Okay, I had to look for my marker. I was like, what did I do this week? Because I did a whole bunch of work in this at the beginning of the week, and then I didn't touch it for the rest of the week. I finished a sleeve. I finished the second sleeve, and so now I have both sleeves done. If I just like went down like this, so you couldn't see the body that's not done, and just had the sleeves, I could say I'm done with the sweater. No, but okay, so I did. I think that this was my stitch marker last time. I think last time I didn't even pick up for the sleeves. Or the second sleeve, sorry. And so I finished the second sleeve. Honestly, the sleeves went by so fast. I don't know what it is about it. Because it's an all over texture where, you know, I do have to pay attention to do. But there's something about it. I think after I got used to knitting this texture, it's really fun and quite relaxing to work on. And kind of addicting to do every row. Well, I guess it's every other row where you have to do like this twisted stitches, but it's fun. It's really nice. And so, yeah, I did end up when I finished the second sleeve, I just bound off and I said, I'm just going to stop here for now because one sleeve is a lot of progress for a sweater in a week, I think. And so I just stopped and worked on some other projects. But this coming week, I will pick back up the body and start working on the body. And I will have to wind up another ball of yarn because this is where what I was left with after the second sleeve. And so, yeah, it was basically like almost a full skein per sleeve, I'll say, which is pretty crazy, but I have 2 more skeins of this, and so I'm not worried at all to finish the body, to finish the whole sweater. But it's looking so good. I can't wait to finish this. Feels like it's going to be really nice and cozy, and the fit is really great. I was worried that it was going to be too big when I first cast this on, but it's perfect. It's great. And so, yeah, this will probably be the next thing that I finish. It is the next closest thing to being done. And so, yeah, but let me show you. I don't have that much of the body done, and the body is a more length sweater. It's not a cropped one at all, and so it might take me. In my head, I'm like, ooh, maybe I could finish it this week and I can wear it next week. But I think it's going to take me a couple weeks at least. But yeah, it's looking great. I'm really happy with the color choice and the pattern choice for this. And so, yeah, it's been great. It's been great. Just a reminder for the sleeve, the one modification I made is to make the sleeve cuff 1/2 inch shorter than the pattern states, just because it is a long cuff, I think, and the fit of this, when I put it on, it's the perfect length, and it didn't need to be any longer for me. So yeah, that was my one sleeve modification. Other than that, I just followed the chart for the sleeve decreases, and then that's right at the end of the chart. It was the perfect length to just start ribbing, so I didn't even have to do any extra pattern repeats for the sleeve, which is fantastic. So yeah, this is the Checkerplate sweater by Lily Kate, and I'm really happy with the progress on it. And it is on one of my Make 9. It is on my Make 9, and it is the second project of my Make 9. So yeah, I'm looking forward to also finishing that. I can definitely finish that in February, and then that means I'll be kind of like on track. I want to try and be like one per month, so that because there's probably going to be a project that takes me longer than a month. And so I feel like if I just try to be one a month, then I'll have lots of time if I run out of time towards the end of the year. Or if during the year, I take a little bit longer on some other of those projects. But yeah. Okay, let's talk about the progress. I didn't make too much progress on this one this week, but it is kind of as predicted, because I made lots of progress on it last week, and so this week it didn't get as much attention. But I did work a little bit on my test knit, which is the Prospect Tee by Tori. I am using Explorer Knits Denali sock in the colorway Butterfly Pea Flower. I'm knitting size 1, and I'm using US 4 needles, 3.5mm needles to knit this. That is the recommended needle size, and I got gauge, which is fantastic. Here it is. It might look very similar to how it did last week, but let me find. I'm just working on the body right now, and last time I only had like 3 rows of the body done. This is where I was last time on the body. I kind of like just joined in around, I think, and then showed it to you all. But then I did work. That's got to be at least a couple inches, 2.5, 3 inches of the body, this much. And so that's good progress. And I've memorized now the stitch pattern. And so it wasn't that hard to memorize. Let me hold it up a little bit closer to the camera so you can see that. See that stitch pattern? Kind of looks like it's like a striped stitch pattern. So yeah, it's looking really good. This color, definitely, I was asking my friends during knit night this week, I was like, is this blue or is it purple? And okay, when I hold it to the camera, it looks, we decided it is purple. It is definitely a blue purple, but it is more purple than blue. On camera, I think it comes off definitely more purple than it does like in person. I think in person in some lights it looks blue. Like down here, looks blue. When I go upstairs, it does look a little bit more purple, but it's a great color. I'm happy that I had this yarn, and I was like, I think it's really pretty, but I have no idea what I'm going to make with it. And so, yeah, when this pattern came out, I was like, yeah, this is the one. This is the one. I think it's going to be really nice, and I'm excited for it. And I think it's going to be great. I want to get a little bit more work on it done this week, but it's going great. And yeah, here's how much. I have 2 skeins of this total. This is still my first skein, and so I am good yarn-wise. But yeah, so that's my quick update on my test knit. My first test knit of the year, the Prospect Tee. And I think I mentioned this last time. I definitely want to make the Prospect pullover also by Tori. So yeah, it was kind of nice because I wasn't ready for that pullover, but I really wanted to see what this texture was, the knit pattern, or the texture pattern. So glad I get to do it in kind of in a tee version before I do the sweater version. But yeah, sound's been nice. And then I have a new cast on. And this was the one, you'll see how much progress I made on it. It is the one I kind of, towards the end of this week, kind of abandoned the rest of my other projects and started working on my new cast on. But it is fine because, well, you'll see why. Because I had plans for this. I had plans for this yarn and pattern combination since last year. And I didn't cast on last year. And so it was about time. This was my kind of impulse cast on, but I guess not, because I wanted to cast it on last year. Anyway, this is the DRK Everyday Sweater, and I am using my Handspun Zeezee Textiles Rambouillet fiber in the colorway Elberdritchel, my LB sweater spin from last year, if you remember. I finished it like, was it in summer last year, or like early, I think sometime in the first half of last year. And the plan was, and for me, I want to do a sweater spin every year. And in my head, that also translated to, you know, doing the spin in the year and also knitting the sweater in the same year. And last year I didn't knit my sweater spin. And so I was like, because I still want to spin a sweater quantity this year and also want to knit it, I didn't want to get like behind on knitting the handspun sweater. And so I was like, I'm going to just start this. I'm looking for a new cast on because I finished 2 things. I guess one of them was a hat, so it was kind of small, but I was like, I get to cast on something new. And I was like, let's just do this. Finally, let's just do it because I've been wanting to do it and staring at it. Okay, and then I'm knitting size 1. I'm using US 5 needles, 3.75 millimeter needles to knit this. I'm going to hold up where I'm at, and then I think you'll understand why the rest of my projects didn't get as much attention. I split first sleeves already. So, yeah, I made a lot of progress on this. I mean, I am knitting a size 1, and it is actually quite small. I was debating between knitting a size 1 or size 2, and actually, part of me still is maybe like, should I have knit size 2? Do I rip back and knit size 2? But I think size 1 is going to be great. It's just going to be a bit more fitted than some of my other sweaters, but I think having a slightly more fitted sweater, and it still has positive ease, like maybe 4 inches of positive ease, but it, again, is just a bit more fitted. I think a lot of the sweaters that I tend to like to wear or prefer has like 6 inches of positive ease, even like 8, 9. So this one will be a little bit more of a tighter fit. But I think that something that I want to have in my wardrobe is something that is a little bit more snug, less positive ease, and things that I want to be able to wear things over my knitted sweaters as well. So that's what I decided to go with, and oh, it's knitting up so nice. So nice. The yarn color is gorgeous knit up. I was curious to see how it would look knitted up, and here it is. Let me also hold up my skein or my ball, my cake of this yarn. It's very dark and moody, but it's perfect. And then, sorry, I'm gonna stand up and then also, so it might be easier for me to hold this up to the camera so you can see all the striping. Ooh, it's so pretty. I really like that, even though it has this overall just like dark blue, purple kind of color, if you look up close, you can kind of see some of that green. You can see that one green kind of stripe there. There's some like rusty reds here. Ooh, it's so good. It's so pretty. Okay, and then I am excited to be working on this. I guess now I'm not working on the circular yoke part, but it's been a long time, I think, since I've done a circular yoke pattern, and so that was quite fun for me to work on again, where you just do, you're just working in the round, and then you do increases kind of like all the way around, and then you knit for a bit and then do more increases. So that's kind of what you can kind of see, those increases kind of happening down the yoke there before I split for the sleeves and the body. And I did try this on because it looks small. It looks so small. I was like, I'm nervous about that, but it does fit. And so I'm gonna keep going. I am this much on the body right now. It looks like maybe like an inch on the body. And so I'm gonna just work on the body until I run out of my first skein of yarn, which is actually like 1.5 skeins. It's 150 grams of yarn for the skein. But I'll just keep working because I don't think that'll finish the body for me, and then I'll try it on again and we'll just see how it's feeling. But yeah, for this sweater, I was looking at the sleeve circumference, and it is tiny. For this size, it is 11 inches. And I think if I loosely have the measuring tape around just like right here on my arm, which I think is probably the bigger part of my arm, it is like really close to 11 inches already. And so I think it's going to be, I do not like tight sleeves. So I'm going to be quite careful. This might be a sweater that I kind of continuously try on as I go, just to make sure, you know, if it's starting to get too tight in somewhere, that I catch it early and can rip back. But yeah, I did right after I split for the sleeves and joined in the round for the body. I knit like 3 rows, I think, and then I did put it on just because I just wanted to see if my arms even fit through the arm holes that I made. And it's fine. It's just, I don't know, it's surprising to me. This looks small. Like, even holding it up, it looks like it would be really tight, but it felt comfortable. It didn't feel super tight at all, and so I'm slightly confused, but I'm happy because it was fine. But yeah, I'm just gonna keep trying this on. So again, part of me is like, maybe I should have just made size 2, but I didn't want, for circular yokes, you know, if it's too long, then it gets kind of weird and like kind of like a wing-ish thing happening when you like lift up your arms. But again, I think it'll be fine, but I'm just gonna like keep checking as I work on this. But it's great because I really wanted to have a stockinette project on my needles, and this is all stockinette, and so it's great. It is the thing that I am knitting on while watching the Olympics. We'll get to that. Let's talk about it at the end, though, because I'm not done talking about my projects. But this is my last knit project for me to talk about, but it is my new cast on, and it's looking really good, and so I'm excited about this. Very, very excited. I feel like I should have put this one on my Make 9, but I think it's one of the ones where it almost made it onto my Make 9. It was like in the mix of things, but it didn't quite make it. But it's still like in my, mentally, it's on my things to make this year anyway. So yeah. Yay. I'm happy with that. Okay, I want to talk about my spinning a little bit, and because I did have a new spin project that I started, but before we get to that, I want to show you, because I did a big kind of washing and washing my fiber and, you know, doing the thwacking and kind of, you know, the finishing of my Handspun this week, and so I do want to show you those finished skeins. And yeah, so let's just quickly go through that. First up is my Little Fiber Co. Cormo Rose Batt in the colorway Impossible. And so this one is now fully done. It is skeined up and it's looking so cute. I think I'm getting a lot better at skeining my Handspun so that it actually looks pretty nice and neat. So here it is. I'm going to try and hold it up and get the camera to focus, hopefully. Here we go. I think you can kind of see those subtle, very pastel and light colors in there. It's a lot harder to see after it's all spun up and kind of mixed up, but I think you can tell that there's a bit of blue and pink in there amongst all of the gray that is the majority of this base. But I do like the subtle kind of colors in this one. And then I have my Witchfire Fibers Charlie Batt. It's so fluffy. You can tell that this was my first plied skein. It's my second one. This was as much that could fit on one bobbin, and this was what the leftovers of what could fit. So I do have 2 nice skeins. I don't know if you can see just how fluffy and airy this yarn is. Can you see kind of like the slight halo coming off of some of that? I don't know if you can, but it is really nice and soft. And I don't know if you remember me talking about this when I was spinning it, but it did have a bit of this kind of like the kind of oily feel to it, probably from lanolin. But okay, I do think washing it did help a little bit. Like the normal, after I'm done spinning, wash it and then soak it, and all of that. I think it helped a little bit, but it still has a little bit of that feel, but it's fine. Oh, it's so soft. And it's so squishy. But yeah, so that's this one. I know both of these were kind of like these like gray light neutral colors. And then here's my next light neutral color spin of the year. This is my Little Fiber Co. Prismatic Roving. Ooh, they smell so good. Oh. Again, I really like when I wash my knits and my yarn because the wool wash I use smells so good. And so I love freshly washed knit things, wool things. But it's just such a hassle for me to do, but... Ooh, whatever scent I use for this, it smells so good. Okay, sorry. This is Little Fiber Co. Prismatic Roving. This was a total of 6 ounces of fiber, and so it's 2 nice, fluffy skeins of yarn. And then this one you can definitely see there are a lot of like tweed-ish bits in there, little leftover yarn colors in there. I, of course, love the pops of pink that came out in this. Let me find a good one here. Maybe it's, like right here, right there. I like that. But there's some green, there's some purple and blue up there. And yeah, it's great. This is a spin that the plan is, so me and my friends who spin all got this fiber from Flock 2 years ago, I think. And so I think me and Maya are the only ones who finish spinning this, but the rest of our friends will be joining along, I think, soon-ish. I think we just needed someone to, for me, it was Maya. Maya was the push for me to finally start spinning this, and so, yeah, maybe the momentum of me and her finishing this will get our other friends to spin this soon-ish, but, yeah, I can't wait to see everyone's spin of this. It's great. It was really easy to spin. Well, I don't want to say really easy, but a lot easier to spin long draw. All of the ones I showed, I spun long draw, and this was the easiest out of all of them to spin long draw. It was I'm pretty sure the fiber prep was a woolen, like, prepped fiber, and it was in nice strips already, and so I just think the way that it was prepped made it really easy to long draw, and so it was a nice and pleasant spin. And then I did, of course, start another spin this week, and I'm actually pretty far on it. The fiber I decided to spin was Red Door Fiber Studio Australian Merino fiber in the colorway Between Imposter and This Monster. And if you know this quote, it's from K-Pop Demon Hunters. And I, of course, when I started spinning this, decided to watch K-Pop Demon Hunters. First time for me this year to watch it. I watch it on a pretty regular basis. I love that movie so much, and yeah. And so, of course, this came from the Red Door Fiber Studio K-Pop Demon Hunters collection, although this was from the first round. She did have, I think she had like an in-stock, K-Pop Demon Hunters collection, and I think it sold out pretty quickly, but my friend actually got me like a mini set and this fiber from that first round, and she gave it to me, and so that's how I got this fiber. And then I did buy yarn from her pre-order of K-Pop Demon Hunters. But anyway, let me show you what I spun up of it so far. I don't even have the fiber to show it to you because I finished spinning the singles for it. You can tell I clearly did not split up the fiber evenly between the two because this one's a lot bigger. But here is the yarn, or here's the colors, the singles of this. Oh, it's so pretty. It's so pretty, and I think it's like perfect for what the colorway that it represents, and like the scene in the movie when Hiromi and Jinu are like flying in the air. I think the colors are perfect, and it's so pretty. Oh my goodness. I love the purple. I love the pink. I think there's a lot more pink. I mean, you can see it right here, but it's like under the purple. And for some reason, just where it ended both of these, all of the pink got covered up by the purple and the blue. But I can't wait to see this plied up and how that looks. And I decided to split this fiber up. It's going to be a 2-ply, as you can maybe tell. I split it up like a 1-to-3. And so, one half just end to end, and the other half I split up into 3 sections, and I spun those each end to end. So we'll see how that plies up. The colors weren't really in like very strict kind of color blocks to kind of do a fractal, but it's just how I normally kind of split up my fiber anyway, and so I just did that. But yay. And so this week I will probably ply it up very soon, maybe this weekend, and then I'll have it finished. And if I'm good, I will also wash it and kind of finish the actual handspun and then get to show it to you all skeined up next week. I'm saying this again for accountability so that I try my very best to get it done for you all next week. But yeah, I'm really happy. This was a nice change of pace from all of the woolen spun long draw stuff that I was doing at the beginning of the year. I like it, but I wanted to make sure I didn't forget how to do like a short forward drafting on fiber. And so yeah, I picked this also because I was like, I want to watch K-pop Demon Hunters, and I feel like I want to do that while spinning this fiber. The colors are really nice and not gray like all the rest of the, or light brown from what I was spinning before. And so I just needed a little bit of a change, and it was perfect. And the only thing was at the very beginning, doing the short forward, I was confused. I felt I was gripping on it so tight. I was like, what am I doing? Oh my gosh, if it just felt so different, but obviously I got used to it later. And yeah, so it's great. I'm really in the spinning mood this year. I think I just have this, like, I have a motivation, or have the motivation to spin more this year. I spun a lot last year, but I really want to get through some of my, like, you know, my kind of one-off braids, or like, you know, the braids that I don't think, I mean, I have some sweater quantities that I of course want to spin, but I have a lot of single braids that I don't think that I want to mix with any other ones, and so I just want to get those also done so that I can like have the pretty single skein braid. Maybe this year I will just spin a whole bunch of single skein braids, and then next year my kind of like the, you know how last year's make 12 things, or, you know, a monthly thing was the socks every month. This year is a single skein every month. Maybe next year is a single skein of handspun every month. And the handspun is going to be the ones that I made this year. Or it doesn't have to be exactly the ones I made this year, but I don't have enough handspun single skeins to do one of them every month next year. Anyway, I am now brainstorming. We are still in February, like the second month, beginning of the second month of the year, and I'm already thinking about next year's plans. But wouldn't that be fun? I just thought of it right now. So, okay, I'm going to hopefully try and remember that for next year, because that sounds like a really fun thing. And also a goal for this year, actually, because then I need to make sure I make the handspun, at least 12 single skein handspun. Okay, I like that plan. We'll see if I remember it, though. Okay, so that's all for my spinning. And then I have one acquisition to share. I got in, this was the last thing that I bought last year that has shipped this year and arrived. And so it counts towards my acquisitions for 2026. But I did buy a sweater quantity from Sorella's Coffee House collection last year, and I got in my yarn this week, and I want to hold it up and talk about it because I'm really excited for this. I really wanted to try the woolly base from Sorella. It's a new base, I believe, for her, but I think it also is a limited edition base. I'm not sure if she's going to offer it. Maybe it's a seasonal offering for the base, kind of like the boucle, but yeah, I wanted to try it. So let me talk about the base first before I talk about the colorway. So the base is called Woolly. It is a 90% superwash merino wool, 10% nylon. They come in 50 gram skeins. It's 164 yards. And it is labeled as a sport weight, but I don't know if you can tell all the way from back here, but I will hold it up closer. It is a fluffy base. It is super, super fluffy. And the fluff is different. It doesn't look like a suri or mohair. I think suri or mohair to me looks like hair, like it's hairy. This one just looks like it's fluffy. Oh my gosh, camera, please focus. Do you see that? Like it just looks like it's fuzzy and not so much like hairy, if that makes sense. Here, let me try and get like a strand out. Here, do you see that? Yeah, it's just like, you can see the cord, which I feel like is probably the nylon, and then it's just little wool fluffs. And I am so excited to try this out. Okay, the colorway I got is called London Fog. I think it's the cutest color. It's got a little bit of like the purple, and then it's like kind of a neutrally brownish kind of color, but ooh, I really like it. Also because I love London Fogs, and so, you know, whenever something's named something that I love, I also feel kind of connected to it. So, but I also love the colorway. So, you know, colorway I love, name I love. I just felt like it needed to be. Also, look how cute the label is on this, because it is the coffee house collection, so it just has like a matcha, and I guess that could be a tea latte or a coffee latte. But oh, it's so cute, and it's so fluffy, it's so soft. And okay, it was so funny, it was very coincidental that this past knit night, Megan was wearing her broom. I think that's a pattern, it's by Andrew Mowry. She was wearing that, and it was in a fluffy yarn base. And I was like, oh, what yarn is that? What? Because I like kind of remembered. But I was like, for me in my head, I was like, kind of reminds me of this one, this yarn base. And she told me what the, you know, the yardage and what the make of the fiber was for that yarn. And I was like, I looked at that and I was like, I think it's this base. But her yarn was from Treehouse, but she no longer carries that base. But we both were like, I think it's this base. I think it's the same yarn base. Which got me excited because I bought a sweater quantity, and I had some ideas for what sweater I wanted to make for this, but nothing like quite like super like, oh, I definitely want to make this sweater pattern. I was kind of just like, oh, maybe one of those when I decide to cast this on. But I love that sweater that Megan made, and so I might just make the same one with this yarn, since I know it works out, and it worked out and it looks really nice in that pattern, and so I might just do the same, potentially, maybe. Because I haven't made that sweater pattern yet. Otherwise, I was thinking about making the Nebula, also by Andrew Mowry, so that could be an option too. But, yeah, so we'll see. But it could be made with this as a single strand. That's what Megan did. So, and again, this yarn is labeled as a sport weight, but depending on gauge and depending on how, you know, loose or fuzzy you want it to be, you could hold this single and use a larger gauge, because the fluff on this is quite fluffy, so it'll fill in any kind of gaps that there might be with a larger gauge. So yeah, I'm still thinking on it, but I would actually love to cast this on sometime extremely soon, like within the next month, maybe. Well, there's a lot of things I want to cast on within the next month, but maybe this, because I want to wear this. I already feel like I'm running out of time to make warm knit things before it gets too warm to wear. But it's so cool. Anyway, I'm just getting nervous. But yeah, this was my one acquisition for the week. So yeah, and then that's all I have, knitting, yarn, fiber related things. I mentioned about knitting on my DRK Everyday Sweater while watching the Olympics. The Olympics officially started this past week, and it is the Winter Olympics, and I am so excited for them. If you don't know, I figure skate, and I love ice skating. I've always loved ice skating. I loved watching the ice skating at Winter Olympics ever since I was little, and so it is a thing that I look forward to all the time, but especially now that I figure skate, and that I, can do some of the jumps and spins, and now I can actually understand what is happening. I can understand and actually see, when I watch skating now, I can actually, before they jump, when they're doing their prep into their jump, I know what jump they're going to do. And so it's really exciting when I see their footwork too. I know what they're doing. And so it's a lot more, it's a lot more exciting, but also now more nerve-wracking for me to watch competitive figure skating, because now I know what's happening, but it makes it really fun for me. And so anyway, I'm just really excited that the Olympics are have started. And of course, figure skating is the one that I'm definitely keeping track of and looking up the schedule so that I know when events are happening. If you aren't following or watching, the team event for figure skating is happening. Day 2 was today for the team event, and tomorrow is day 3, and that's the last day, I believe, for the team event. And so at the end of tomorrow, we'll find out who wins the team event for figure skating, and I'm really excited. I'm actually going to go over to a friend's house, a skating friend of mine. We're going to go to her house, and we're going to watch the skating event. I think that it is the pairs, the women and the men's free skate tomorrow, and so we'll watch that. And yeah, it'll just be fun. I don't think I've watched figure skating with my skating friends before, and so I think it's going to be fun for all of us to be watching and kind of like calling out like things that are happening. So I'm quite excited for that. We're going to make some snacks and stuff too, so that should be pretty fun. But also in other sporting events, tomorrow is also the Super Bowl. Although, of course, when I put up this video, it'll be the day. Like, it'll be Sunday. But as I'm recording this, it's Saturday. So tomorrow is the Super Bowl also. And so, thankfully, the figure skating events will be done before the Super Bowl starts. And, you know, I've watched the Super Bowl, pretty much, well, I would say definitely every year for the past, maybe like, oh my gosh, 5, 6, 7 years? Before, I mean, you know, I'm not really much of a football fan, but it's just, you know, a thing that happens, and so it's usually just on. But this year, the Seahawks are in the Super Bowl, and if you know, I live in the Seattle area, and so this is all very exciting for Washington State fans and other fans, I guess, of Seahawks, but yeah, very exciting, and so I am really looking forward to watching it, especially this year because of the Seahawks. So go Seahawks, and yeah, we'll see. So it's going to be a very packed day for me tomorrow, but it'll be exciting, and I'm hoping for both events that I'm watching to go, you know, to go the way that I would like for it to go. So yeah, I hope I'm not jinxing it, but yeah, tomorrow should be a busy day, but a fun day. And yeah, I mean, besides the figure skating, so tomorrow is the end of the team event, but then after that, in the next, I think like 2 weeks, over the next 2 weeks, it'll be the kind of single events for all of the individual medals events. And so I will definitely be following on that. I have some favorite skaters that I'm looking forward to watching, and I hope that they do well. Of course, I'm rooting for Team USA, but there are some other skaters that I follow and am hoping that they do well. And especially if you know the Japanese skaters, there is a skater, Kaori Sakamoto, and this is her last, she announced this is her last year competing, her last season. So this is her last Olympics, and it is so sad. She is one of my favorite skaters, and so I'm really looking forward to watching her. She did great in the team event short program, and this year her programs are like so sad because you know that she chose them knowing that it's going to be her last programs, and so yeah, it's sad to watch, but also I just hope she does well and ends her season really nicely. So looking forward to that. And in terms of Team USA, I am looking forward to watching Amber Glenn and Alyssa Liu and Isabeau Levito, all three of them, but I particularly like Alyssa Liu's programs, and also just her attitude and mindset around competing. I think is just so admirable. She's just out there doing it for fun, which is crazy because she's at such a high level athlete, for her to just be like, I'm just doing this for fun and just for me. But I think that that's such a great attitude to have, and really I feel like it kind of like I want to embody that, especially because as an adult skater I've learned how to skate as an adult. I wasn't like a child skater coming back to it as an adult. I learned skating as an adult, which is extremely hard to do because as an adult you're more scared, and when you get hurt, it hurts more and it hurts for longer. And so, you know, learning things is a lot harder, it's more difficult, it takes a longer time. You watch these kids who started learning to skate after you, and now they're like doing axles and doubles, and you're still like, I'm still trying to do my single jumps. So, you know, it's a pretty different mindset, but, you know, it's like, I'm doing it for me, I'm doing it because I want to do it, and I like it, and I'm doing it for fun. Of course, I want to do the best that I can do, and, you know, put in my effort, but really at the end of the day, I'm doing it because I want to do it, and because it's fun for me. And so, you know, it is, yeah, her mindset on it is something I would also like to embody. And so, to me, that's pretty inspiring. And for Amber Glenn, she put in so much effort, so much effort over the years to get to where she's at, and she's been so good and so consistent, and so I'm really, really proud of her too. And anyway, I'm just excited to watch everyone, and yeah, watch other people's programs from different countries. This past year, maybe the past couple years, I've been a little bit more into watching kind of the other events around skating that happened throughout the year, especially, well, this past year leading up to the Olympics and kind of like the Grand Prix and stuff. So I've seen some other people's programs already, but I'm excited to see how it shows up for the Olympics and all of that. It's a big stage for them, so I'm really excited. And yeah, besides skating, I mean, I'll probably just be watching some other sports that I only watch when the Olympics happen, but that are like pretty fun to watch, kind of like the skiing, the snowboarding, and all of that. So yeah, I don't know, are you guys also watching Olympics? For me, I grew up always watching the Olympics, not anything like super like intensely, but it's whenever the Olympics are on, it's like on TV when I watch both Winter and Summer Olympics. So for me, it seems a little weird that some people just like don't watch the Olympics, but you know, I wouldn't say I'm a sport person either, and so, you know, it's just, to me, feels like I don't know, when it's on, I won't be watching. Of course, for the Winter Olympics, of course I'm watching figure skating, but yeah, are you guys watching the Olympics? Let me know. Do you have a favorite sporting event that I should be on the lookout for? Do you also watch figure skating? Are you also into the drama that is figure skating? There's some drama around the Olympics and figure skating. I think probably for a lot of sports, but I do really feel like there's drama around figure skating, especially ice dance. But, you know, we can talk about that maybe like next week, but let me know. Let me know if you're following along on the Olympics, because, yeah, that'll be happening for the next few weeks, I think. But I'm excited, and also watching it will give me a good chance on, like, also knitting and watching the Olympics, which is, I think, a pretty fun time. And, yeah, I'm just going to be working on my projects. Maybe cast on some new things this coming week, because I feel like as long as I am under 10 projects, I'll feel pretty good. But alright, I'm going to end it here. Thank you so much for listening. I know at the end of this video I got very rambly about the Olympics, but I'm just really into it and I'm very excited about it. So, as always, let me know in the comments down below what you have been working on while listening or watching the podcast, because I love getting project ideas from you all. So, yeah, thank you so much for watching. If you're watching the Olympics, I was going to say tomorrow, but I guess this entire coming week. Fingers crossed that whoever you're rooting for does well. And if you're watching Super Bowl tomorrow, go Seahawks. And yeah, hope you all have a great week. And I'll talk to you all in next week's video. Bye!